What's up, guys? My name's Cody, and this is another UFC betting breakdown. This time for UFC Vegas 34, and we got Cannonier taking on Kelvin Gastelum, and it's a low-key card, but there's several other fights on this card that I'm really looking forward to. So before we get into it, make sure you leave a like on the video. Leave me a comment. Let me know which fights you're betting, which ones you agree and disagree on. I'm going to have my Twitter in the caption below, so you can follow me there. I always tweet out all my bets. And if you're a true OG to the channel, make sure you turn notifications on because sometimes these videos come on Wednesday. Sometimes they come on Thursday. Sometimes I've even dropped them a little bit later. Try not to, but, I get it out as early as I can. Sometimes I wait if there's some late cancellations. I'd rather the video be a little late than rush a video out and not get to. And for this one, we had the Trevin Jones fight. Him get a new opponent, so we'll get into that in a little bit. But real quick before we get into it all the way, just wanted to go over my last bets for 265. We did end up with a slight positive gain. Not perfect because we did miss out on Carolina and Chiesa, and we had a small prop green by decision, but we did cash green by decision. Torres by decision for a nice dog money shot. And we got plus 147 Johns parlayed up with Aldo versus Munoz goes to decision, and plus 113 Lewis versus Gane under 4.5 with Kinney versus Song over 2.5. So still not perfect, but we will take it. Let's move on. Keep the momentum going. Keep as long as money and profit is profit. So let's keep it going into this fight. There's a couple fights I'm interested in as far as betting, and there's some real fun fights on the card. Period. So let's get into it. First fight of the night, we got Ramis Brahimage taking on Sasha Politnikov, and Ramis, you might remember, fought Max Griffin in his debut. Trains at Fortis MMA, a solid team, and he was looking really good coming into his debut. Had a couple losses, but they were by decision. But a lot of pretty much just taking dudes down. His takedowns that were looking solid coming into the UFC, and great submissions. I mean, every single one of his professional wins is by submission. Max Griffin's a tough guy to. His takedown defense isn't the greatest, but it's gotten better over the years. And his striking has gotten a lot better too. And you saw in that fight, Brahimage didn't attempt a single takedown, and Max Griffin just pieced him up, and then in the end, landed a vicious elbow in the clinch and blew up Brahimage's ear, which was disgusting to watch. I mean, his ear fell off. Not a great debut. I mean, Max Griffin, that was a tough matchup. I had money on Max Griffin in that fight, and I saw it going down. I mean, similar to that in the sense of if Brahimage on the feet, he's powerful. He definitely is going to have a power advantage, and I could see him knocking Politnikov out. But, if he doesn't land that big bomb, he's just going to get pieced up on the feet. He doesn't really throw a ton of volume. And in this fight, I think that could be a problem because Politnikov, man, his takedown defense hasn't been great. But, he has fought some tough guys. His debut, he got that win over Louis Koski. He was a big underdog in that fight. And I told you guys, I didn't bet Politnikov, but I told you guys, I was kicking my ass for not doing it, but I told y'all, do not parlay this guy up. I had somebody going back and forth with me telling me he bet $5,000 on a parlay with Louis Koski. And, man, I felt for that guy after the first round of that fight because he just gassed completely. Ends up getting finished in the third. Politnikov, he's got some pretty solid striking. He likes to fight long, and just, he's at range. He's pretty, he looks good. He's technical, but the problem is, he could be taken down, and on the ground, he just doesn't seem like he has a ton of answer there. Against some lower level guys, his get up game has been all right, but I just feel like if Brahimage can take him down, there's gonna be a big skill gap there. If Brahimage gets him down in the first round and there's over a minute and a half in that round, I think the fight's going to be over. But I don't know. It's just hard to bet as a favorite. Brahimage, when, he went in there in his last fight, and I do, like I said, Max Griffin, that's a tough debut, man. Dude's got a lot of experience, and, he's durable. He's not easy to take down. and especially like these past couple of years, and on the feet he's just a much more technical striker than Brahimage. I do think Politnikov is going to have the better striking, but he's not obviously as experienced, and he definitely doesn't have the takedown defense of Max Griffin. So I feel like Brahimage can get him down here. I am going to side with Brahimage. I'm going to take him by submission. But Politnikov has been finishing all 3 of his losses. But I'm not going to bet Brahimage as a favorite against Politnikov because Politnikov definitely is an opportunist. And if we see Brahimage start slowing down, I could see Politnikov getting him out of there in the third, maybe late in the second. Or Brahimage just gets pieced up on the feet, especially if he comes out there with a game plan like the last time. I feel like he might have just respected Griffin's takedown defense, and in this fight he's going to get after it more, especially seeing how his last fight turned out. But, I'm not going to be able to bet on Brahimage after that last showing, even though this is a solid step down, and I do think he's going to be smart enough to get after the takedowns. But I'm tempted. I do think Brahimage should get it done, at least win the first 2 rounds. But man, I think somebody's gonna get it finished in this, and if he gasses out and doesn't get after those takedowns, it could get bad for him. So I'm gonna take Brahimage. I'm gonna take him by submission, but I'm not gonna bet that fight yet. Maybe later in the week. Check my Twitter. Next up, we got Roosevelt Roberts taking on Ignacio Bahamondes, and Roosevelt Roberts. It's been a pretty back and forth UFC career. I mean, against lower level guys, like in that Brock Weaver fight, I mean, he looked great. When he has a grappling advantage on somebody, he typically he can make them look pretty amateur. His grappling is kind of looked at as a strength, but in his losses at the same time, it's people who've been able to get on top of him. And Jim Miller and Vince Pichel, they were both underdogs going into that fight, but at least I remember for sure Jim Miller was. I want to say Vince Pichel was, but because Roosevelt was undefeated going into that with a decent amount of hype, but Vince Pichel, who we'll talk about later, just has great takedowns, man, and I mean he gets after it. He knows what he's good at, and he gets right after that. And Roosevelt, man, we've seen he has a bit of a takedown defense problem, and even the Kevin Kroom fight, that was a 30-second submission loss as well. He got club and subbed, ate a big punch, and then got guillotined. It's only a no contest because Kroom popped for the marijuana, but we've seen that it's kind of weird because Roosevelt's really a grappler if you really look at his fights. I mean, his striking's not bad. Typically, he fights long and has a bit of a reach advantage on his opponents. But in this fight, he's definitely not gonna, which we're gonna get into in a second with Bahamondes, who fights, who's a super tall lightweight. It's actually kind of crazy. And in this fight, I think Roosevelt's gonna have to get after his grappling, and I do think he's gonna have a grappling advantage over Bahamondes. But I don't know, man. He has not been a very trustworthy guy so far in the UFC, and after his last fight, that was about a year ago, exactly, about 11 months ago. I do think that, he's probably getting better still. He's only 27, but, just not been his last 2 performances, it's tough to really come in here and bet this guy as a favorite. But, into Bahamondes, you got Bahamondes over here, who, like I said, is 6'3", pretty crazy. He's going to have a reach and height advantage over Roosevelt, which, me, I always say, it's not an advantage unless you use it as one. Can be a disadvantage. And it might be able to help Roosevelt get to those takedowns. He's not used to being the shorter guy in there, and he is going to have a slightly lower base. Sometimes that just helps you get under a guy and secure that takedown. But it is tough to rely on him to go and do that. And Bahamondes definitely proved in this fight. Mac Desi, you can say what you want about him, but he's fought some tough ass guys. He's definitely a UFC veteran, And I mean, yeah, it wasn't, I mean, he didn't get the job done, but I mean, it was a step up in competition for him for Bahamondes, and I mean, he didn't look completely out of place in there. And I mean, I mean, John Makdessi is, like I said, he's no slouch, and I just feel like he is gonna have a striking advantage here against Roberts. I mean, Roberts' striking isn't terrible, but I do feel like on the feet, Bob Mendes going to land more volume. And Roberts going to have to get after it here, man. Like, take him down in the first round. And, if he can't get the submission, which I do think his best path to victory is going to be a submission, just take him down for, just get after it. Because I think if he gets on top of Bob Mendes, he can land some decent ground and pound. I think Ignacio can be controlled off of his back. I mean, I do think he's still getting better, but I mean, he's only 23 years old. But, from what we've seen so far, I definitely think that's the path to victory for Roberts. But I can't bank on Roberts. He just hasn't been, man, like, I mean, I made money in the Jim Miller fight against him. And, other than that, he hasn't been very reliable. Just, I got to see more from him. He's been off for a year now. I'm sure they're both making improvements, but I'm going to take Roosevelt Roberts, and this is a slight, I won't be betting this fight. I think he is going to get him down, get a submission, but I'm not going to bet this fight. I want to see weigh-ins, but I'm not going to bet this fight. I think I need to see Roberts perform one more time before I can really figure out where exactly he's at, because it's been tough. Moving into this next fight, we got Maleki taking on Josie Nunes. And Maleki, if you look at her record, it does go down as 2-0, but she does have a lot of striking experience, and she is training over at Fortis MMA. So don't let that 2-0 completely fool you. I do think this girl is she's pretty solid. I mean, she's definitely gonna have to work some. I mean, her ground game doesn't look terrible. Definitely a striker, but her ground game hasn't looked like completely. She's definitely, especially training at Fortis MMA. I'm sure it's gonna continue to get better. And I mean, off her back, she doesn't look completely lost there. And then taking on Josie Nunes, who's obviously going to have a slight experience advantage as far as MMA. But, I mean, you go through her record, obviously hasn't really fought anybody yet. I mean, her only loss to Talia Santos, who we know is legit. This girl's super legit. Beat the piss out of Molly McCann and Jillian Robertson. Going into this fight, man, it's like, I don't like to bring it to this unless I have to, but I swear the big thing in this fight is, Maleki is just so much bigger, man. I'm looking forward to seeing these weigh-ins because, I mean, like I said, height is not always an advantage, but it's not just height in this scenario. Maleki is just so much bigger, man. Nunes is like, I just can't believe she fights in this weight class. Like, she's tiny. I mean, before I saw her height listed, I mean, these heights aren't always right. I would have thought she was like 5 feet tall. Like, she is small, and she's not even like very thick. Like, Maleki is gonna have a huge size advantage, reach and height advantage, obviously. And I just feel like Nunes is the big thing. I looked at, I was like, okay, so what's Nunes' takedowns like? They're not great. They're not very great. So I feel like this fight's going to play out. Maleki keeps it on the feet. Even if she gets taken down like once or twice, she's going to be able to keep it on the feet enough to just completely land more than enough volume to make this look pretty easy. I actually if this wasn't, I don't like betting on these type of fights because these are just very unproven. I mean, the girl's got 2 MMA fights, but man, if I wouldn't have missed the line, I really would have loved taking Maleki. Maybe Maleki by decision, but I actually do think she could get her out of there. I mean, Nunes is tough for sure. She's definitely a finisher, but I do feel like in this fight, Maleki's gonna have a big size, reach, height, and just striking advantage. I think a TKO isn't out of the question, But I'm going to take Maleki by decision. Um, I just think she's got too many advantages in this fight. Nunes doesn't have very good leg kicks, very good takedowns. So I just don't think. I mean, they're not terrible, but they're not good enough to overcompensate that. So I'm gonna take Maleki by decision, and let's go move on to the next fight, which is another fun one. We got Brian Kelleher taking on Domingo Pilarte, and I said Domingo. What the fuck? Brian Kelleher, fan favorite, man. Fights a lot of tough guys. I mean, his losses here: Ricky Simone, Cody Stamann, Montel Jackson, John Lineker, and Cheeto Vera. You know, like this. All this dude's UFC losses are like super fucking legit fighters. And when you put him in there against a guy that's like not quite there yet, Ray Rodriguez, Hunter Azur, Odie Osborne, like he's gonna finish them. Damian Stasic, got that win over Hennon Brown. Now we know what Hennon Brown was there at that point, but still. Also guillotine Julio Arce and Iri Alcantara. So, some good wins. Brian Kelleher, as we just saw on his record, got a mean guillotine and got some heavy hands. And Domingo here, man, I mean, pretty solid for sure. Got the rear naked choke over Vince Morales, who just got a win last weekend. It was pretty solid. And his best win, definitely that Adrian Yanez fight. I mean, it was close, but and in that Journey Newson fight, I don't know why this. I mean, these no contests are crazy, but got that first round knockout. This split decision, it was pretty close. I mean, Felipe Colares, pretty solid fighter. Obviously the best win on the resume, that Adrian Yanez fight looks pretty good. I mean, I've definitely seen some people thinking that Yanez won that fight, but so far it's just obviously doesn't have nearly the experience, especially against the higher level fighters. And man, the way this fight goes down, I really do feel like Kelleher is gonna finish. This is gonna be one of those fights where it's gonna be a lot like that Odie Osborne fight, that Hunter Azur, Ray Rodriguez, Damian Stasic. I think this is where Brian Kelleher shines in fights like this. I don't think Domingo has very good striking defense, and I do think he could even get a little desperate if he starts getting lit up on the feet and put his head right into Brian Kelleher's nasty guillotine. I think Kelleher either lands a right hand bomb and knocks Domingo out, or he's going to get another guillotine finish. I really feel like a club and sub or a big overhand right, left hook. I think he's going to knock Domingo. I think he's going to finish him. I like Kelleher inside the distance in this one. I really do feel like this is going to be one of those fights where he shines. I think that height and reach advantage is going to work against Domingo here. He's not going to be able to take Brian down. Even if he did, he's not going to be able to do that, over the course of, 2 rounds. I just feel like Kelleher is going to be able to. And Domingo has a bit of that tall man defense, too. I just feel like, man, this is going to be a bad fight for him. Brian Kelleher, I'm going to take him by a second round knockout, maybe first round knockout. But I wouldn't be surprised if he latches up another sick guillotine. So give me Kelleher by knockout. I think that's going to be a good one for his highlight reel there. Next up, we got Luis Saldana taking on Austin Lingo. And Luis Saldana on a nice little streak right now. Last loss with decision to Alex Wiggs Jr. Lost to Mike Santiago too. But I mean, actually beat Jordan Griffin in his last fight, and Jordan was cut after that. And I mean, some decent wins before that. I mean, Carl Whitstock. This was a decent fight and a solid showing, getting that rear naked choke. But definitely got the flashy kicks. Likes to stay on the outside and fight off his back foot a little bit. But a lot of times a fighter like that likes a guy like Austin Lingo who's just gonna come forward and a pressure fighter. But I just feel like, man, in this fight, Austin Lingo, even he only has 9 fights, 9 pro fights. But you know, the Jacob Kilburn fight, now that is Jacob Kilburn. He did beat the piss out of him, but it is Jacob Kilburn. I just feel like Yusuf Zalal, yeah, he actually fought like he fought on the back foot, but he was able to mix in some takedowns. That was a big thing for Zalal's win and that. And I just feel like in this fight, man, Saldana, I don't know if he's gonna be able to take Lingo down. I just feel like he's just gonna be trying to strike with him on the outside, and I just feel like Lingo in this fight, man, he's just gonna be landing like heavier shots, pushing Saldana back, and if it's close, it's gonna look good for Lingo. I think he has a decent underdog shot. I mean, I get why Saldana's the favorite. He's gonna bring the fight that a lot of guys like Saldana wanna, they want you to come forward and pressure box like that. And Lingo is not gonna be trying to take him down. I don't see either one of these guys really trying to get a lot of takedowns. Both of them training at good gyms, the MMA Lab and Fortis MMA. I'm sure they're going to come in with solid game plans, but I really just feel like this fight's going to play out on the feet, and I could see Lingo landing the bigger shots, even if he can't knock him out. But the Saldana side, man, I do think he's a rightful favorite, but I think if you're going to bet this fight, you got to go with it's not a huge underdog, but still, I feel like it's so 50-50. I'm going to take Austin Lingo, and I'm going to take him by decision. I do think a knockout's definitely on the table for either of them, but I'm going to take Austin Lingo by decision. Next up, my favorite fight on the whole card, Alexandre Pantoja taking on Brandon Royval. And, a lot of people have been thinking I'd be on the Royval side, and I get it. I mean, I get why anybody would want... taking Brandon Royval as an underdog is always going to be like a solid, you'll never be able to be blamed for that. The problem is I just do feel like Pantoja's a little bit better everywhere. I just feel like his striking, it's not as, Royval's got that super loose, he's super opportunistic, like super dangerous, he's good everywhere, but Pantoja is just a little bit more technical. He's not as unorthodox, he's not as unpredictable, but man, his boxing is just a little cleaner. His kicks are a little cleaner. His grappling's a little better. I feel like if anybody gets the takedowns, it'd be him. The big thing with Pantoja is, we've seen him slow down in fights. He slowed down in the Figueiredo fight, and the Askarov fight, and this Dustin Ortiz fight even too. And even some of his wins, you see in that Cobb fight, he started to slow down. And, one thing about Royval is, man, training over at Factory X, like, this dude's got a killer gas tank. And, he's someone who comes on strong as the fight goes on. And Pantoja definitely is someone who tends to fade a little bit. In the Moreno fight, his shoulder popped out. He was getting beat, when that happened. But, like I said, he's someone who heats up as the fight goes on. So he was by no means out of the fight. Now, the Kai Kara France fight, and I'm a fan of Royval, but I'm just, I just gotta, call like I see it. You could definitely, you lost to Casey Kenny, and that's a solid, it's a solid. Casey Kenny's a beast, losing to him, you can't beat yourself up too much. But the Kai Kara France fight, like I said, super opportunistic. Kai Kara's, caught his neck after he caught him with a good shot. But you got to remember, he got dropped in that fight too. And he fought Tim Elliott when Tim Elliott was really on a skid there, and hit him with that arm triangle. And then, other than that, it's like a lot of these wins, it's like Joby Sanchez, Charles Johnson, Jerome Rivera by injury, Demetrius Wilson. These aren't like high level wins. And you got Pantoja over here, man. He's fighting Manel Cap. Oscar, okay, lost, but still top fiver. Matt Schnell won. Davison Figueredo was the champ. Or actually, this was right before he got the title, but, champ status. Wilson Heiss, okay. Sasaki, still a solid win. Brandon Moreno, Dustin Ortiz, Kai Car-France, Brandon Moreno again. He's been fighting like the best in the division. Jussier Formiga way back in 2010. He's been fighting top guys for a long time. And I just feel like, man, he's going to have, if anybody's getting takedowns, unless it's like the third round and Pantoja's real tired and Royval catches him, mixes in a takedown off of a good shot or something, like catches him somewhere. I don't see him being able to just come in with a wrestling game plan. But Pantoja, I really do feel like could put Royval up on the cage. He's going to be the stronger guy, the more explosive guy, the better, just cleaner striker and grappler. And, a little better in the clinch. Like, he's got all the technical advantages. Royval is just crazy durable. The shoulder. Like, hopefully that's not a problem in the future, because he did say after the fight it pops out all the time. Hopefully that's not a reoccurring problem. But, in general, he's durable. He's got a chin. He's got a great gas tank. And, man, sometimes you see a guy who's durable and with a good gas tank, and, that combination can overwhelm, technique sometimes. Obviously, has other things going for him too. Like I said, he's a finisher. He's super dangerous. His strike, he's good everywhere too. Super good in the scramble. Just, he's a wild man. But he's a hard guy to just like keep down. But especially with that gas tank. But I am gonna lean Pantoja. I do think just a little bit too good everywhere, man. Royval still has potential. I still think he's on the rise. I still think he's getting better. And Pantoja, even though he's only 31, he definitely has more miles on him. But at this point of where they're at, I'm going to still go Pantoja. I'm going to go Pantoja by decision. Both these guys are very durable. So give me Pantoja by decision. A TKO is possible. I guess so is a submission, but lower likely. I don't see that really happening. Royval's a tough guy. Give me Pantoja by decision. Tough fight, though, man. I can't wait for that one. Next up, we got another fun one. Vince Pichel taking on Austin Hubbard. And when I first saw this fight, man, I was like, ooh, this might be a tough fight for Vince Pichel. But, Austin Hubbard definitely has good hands. Definitely, as we know, trains over at Elevation. Everybody over there has great cardio. But one thing, man, once I went back through the tape, like when I first saw his matchup, I'm like, okay, well, yeah, he was getting taken down, but it was against Marco Madsen, Olympian, Davi Hamos, and fucking Max Roskopf, who, yeah, he gassed out, but and got beat up, but did take him down. But yeah, that's a high level wrestler. So 3 super high level wrestlers, and then Joe Selecki, okay, is a super high level jiu-jitsu guy. Got him with that standing rear naked choke. But then you go through and you're like, okay, so he's been taken down in like all these fights. Even Dakota Bush was taking him down. So he has been fighting like I don't know what's up with the UFC and giving this guy like guys that just want to wrestle him. But even Dakota Bush took him down, and that's not a good look, No shade on Dakota Bush, but he's just not like a high-level wrestler by any means. And, Hubbard was able to get the win. Clear win. But, if Dakota Bush is taking you down, Vince Pichel is taking you down. This man averages something like 3 takedowns a round. A 15-minute fight, which is a lot. And, in this fight, in the Jim Miller fight, he went in there. It was a tough fight, and you could say like, oh, Jim Miller, like he's, both these guys are past it, or even though Vince Pichel only has 15 fights, he is 38, but man, went in there, and Jim Miller's still a tough outing. Went in there and was able to take him down, and in that third round, just grinded him out and got the clear win. And the Roosevelt Roberts fight, went in there and took him down, got the clear win. Okay, he fought Gregor Gillespie. Okay, he wasn't able to just go in there and out wrestle Gregor Gillespie, a freaking crazy high level wrestler. That was a tough matchup for Vince. But before then, he's just able to take these guys down, man, and just do what he does. And that's what I like about Vince Michelle is he never goes in there like, all right, I want to strike with this guy. I want to beat him at his game, or I'm gonna mix it up. I'm gonna show I'm getting better at these. Nah, man, he goes in there and does what he does, and like streams on Twitch. Shout out to his Twitch. He's doing other things like this man. He only fights once a year. He's got other things he's doing, but he definitely is good at what he does. So once he gets in there to fight, man, like it's right to that A game every time, and I like that. I like betting on guys like that, and I do think Vince Michelle has the gas tank that a lot of these guys that fought Hubbard and lose don't have. I think Vince Michelle can go in there, put him up against the cage, make it grindy, make it ugly, and get a win here. I'm gonna side. I'm slightly siding with Vince Michelle. I mean, I would like him even. He was more of an underdog before. But I don't know, man. I still think he's the rightful side because Austin Hubbard definitely has a striking advantage. Definitely has great cardio. He's definitely super durable. I don't think Pichel will finish him. I mean, a submission's possible, but I think Vince Pichel is just gonna wrestle him, man. I hope. You would think he's training at a great camp. I'm sure his takedown defense is getting better, but so far it's just been he's been getting taken down by guys that if they can take you down, what's Vince Michelle gonna do? So I'm gonna go Vince Michelle. I'm gonna go Pichel by decision, but it is a close fight, and I'm a fan of Hubbard. I'm a fan of both these guys. So give me Pichel by decision, but I do Hubbard, I'm sure, is making improvements. If his takedown defense is better, this can be a tough fight for Pichel. I don't think if he keeps on the feet, I don't think this can be a good fight for Pichel. But from what I've seen, I got to think that Pichel is going to be able to secure some takedowns and get some top game control and get the win, at least 2 rounds. So give me Vince Pichel by decision, and let's move on. Next up, we got Trevin Jones taking on Said Yacob Kakramanov. And, man, this is a tough fight, dude. I mean, when I first saw this, I'm like, oh, they're just going to throw Trevin Jones. When I first saw, because I'm not going to lie to you, until I went back and spent this last day doing tape all day on him, watched like his last 5 fights, I didn't know who this guy was. So I was like, yo, I'm about to bet the house on Trevin Jones. I mean, maybe not the house. He's not a guy you want to bet the house on, no offense at all. But, he's been a little spotty here and there. But, last 2 losses were split decision. Last 3 losses were split decision. That's pretty crazy. But, in that Tamir Valiev fight, got beat up in that first round. But one thing about Trevin Jones is he's durable as hell. He's tough as hell. And this man does have power. I know that his record doesn't show a lot of finishes. Only, 2 knockouts? But this man does have power in his hands, man. When you watch the punches that he was hitting Valiev with, that he was hitting Mario Batista with, that uppercut was nasty. And, he does have power. Over on the Kakramanov side, this dude, man, he's legit. Like, I was like, oh, shit. Like, yo, are they like, oh, Trevin Jones, you want to talk about your contract on Twitter? We're going to give you a fucking tough guy that nobody knows. This guy knocked Asker off in the first round. Okay, that was a pretty solid win. That was Asker's first loss. And, got knocked out in the Vargas fight. But, I mean, this, hey, shit happens. Flying knees. You only got 8 fights. It happens. Or actually, you only had 7. But, man, even in this Umar Nurmagomedov fight, was able to go in there and take him down. That was pretty dope to see. And, I mean, maybe not the highest level opponents here in this first 5, but, I mean, it is what it is. Like, the second five were all really high. I mean, not all really high level, but Vargas pretty solid. I'm not even gonna attempt to say this guy's name, but that was a pretty solid win. 5-4, but when you watch the fight, I mean, the dude didn't look like a complete scrub, and he finished him in the first 4 minutes, so that was pretty solid. And the Asker fight, the Nurmagomedov fight, and his last fight against Tyson Lin, which not the highest level opponent, but it was a good win. And I do think that this guy, his striking is not bad, his kicks aren't bad, but his grappling is legit, man. I mean, I do feel like if he's able to take Trevin Jones down, he could be a real problem on top. But the thing is, man, Trevin Jones, like, he's so durable. He's got so much fucking power in his hands. Like I said, doesn't have the most finishes, but I swear it's just coming together. And I do feel like the short notice doesn't obviously help Sadyakub. And I do feel like, it's going to be tough for him to go in there and wrestle him for 2 rounds, short notice. Trevin Jones, a guy who's, you take him down, there's no quit in this guy, man. He's going to keep trying to get up. Especially I'm talking about his contract and all that, man. He's coming in motivated. We already know what he brings to the table. So I do feel like the pace that Kakramanov is going to bring is probably going to lead him to getting finished. I think he's going to come in here really fighting for his debut, really trying to, take Trevin Jones down, and that's going to get Trevin Jones another knockout. But I do feel like this line's pretty on point. So if you're going to take Trevin Jones, man, maybe you take a play on by knockout. But I haven't seen the line for that yet. I don't know if they dropped the line for that yet. But I do think this is a close fight, man, and don't write this off as like they're giving Trevin Jones some scrub, some can, because that ain't this guy, bro. Like, he's pretty solid. His wrestling's solid. He's going to have a grappling advantage. I mean, Trevin Jones is no slouch on the ground either, but I do think, Kakramanov can take him down, can out-grapple him, but I don't think he can do that for 2 full rounds. I don't think he can win 2 rounds like that. So I'm going to go Trevin Jones. I'm going to take him by knockout, probably late in the second, once Saeed... I just keep making myself say this name. Sadyakub starts to slow down. I'm going to take Trevin Jones to knock him out. But this is a tough fight, man. And I'm honestly probably just going to sit back and enjoy it. Maybe a live bet on Trevin Jones if he starts getting taken down in that first round. If he's still looking in there. Maybe get him at better odds. But I'm going to take Trevin Jones by knockout. Let's move on. Next up, we got Chase Sherman taking on Parker Porter. And, man, Chase Sherman, got cut for a little bit, went over to bare knuckle, and then came back for that Ike Villanueva fight and, finished him brutally. Now you gotta bring up the fact that he does have this, he popped for, it's still down as a win, but he did pop for steroids, and it was like I forgot what the drug is, but it's something a lot of people take when they're coming off a cycle. Definitely not a good look. Surprise is still on there as a win. But, typically they'll give you a no contest or even a loss for that. But, going into this fight with Parker Porter, man, I just feel like in a lot of Chase Sherman's fights, at least in the Arlovsky fight, Arlovsky just such a veteran, man. Just a little bit better of a striker. And Chase Sherman's not going to really grapple. Like, he really just wants to go in there and try to knock you out. And Parker Porter, man, it's going to be a tough fight for him, I feel like, because Chase Sherman, he fights good when it's a guy like this who just kind of wants to brawl with him. That's what Sherman wants to do. But I just feel like he's a little bit better. He's a little bit better of a striker. He's going to be more explosive, more athletic, more power in his hands. Honestly, I feel like a little bit more durable, even though we have seen him get hurt. We've seen him get finished by god damn it, I always mess this one up. Abdurakhmanov. Yeah, Shamil. Alex Nicholson, that was a long time ago, 2014. But The Walt Harris fight, but I mean it's Walt Harris. If he beats you, he knocks you out. That was a pretty tough fight for. That was kind of a similar matchup to this Parker Porter fight, but he's on the other side of it now, where it's like two guys that just want to go out there and knock you out. They're gonna try to knock you out in the first round, but Chase Sherman, a little bit more athletic here. He's gonna have a size, reach, height advantage. He's got more experience against better guys. And I just feel like Parker Porter, man, I just haven't been super impressed with him so far. Yeah, he beat Josh Parisian, but I mean, it's Josh Parisian, man. And then outside of that, man, he was just fighting these weird matchups. And I mean, anytime he really fought like a decent opponent, he was getting finished. And I don't know, man. I just feel like it's actually crazy when you go back and see that he fought John Jones. It's like you went from fighting John Jones to Mark Hoxie, 0-7. Like, that's tough, man. But, you know, I mean, it wasn't a terrible showing against Josh Parisian. But I just feel like in this fight, it's gonna play out on the feet. It's not gonna be a lot of grappling in this. And I feel like, man, I mean, outside of it's just it's heavyweight, it gets a little sloppy, and Parker lands a bomb. I feel like Chase can land more volume. If for some reason he decides to do any grappling, I feel like he has an advantage there. And I don't see that happening though. But he's just got the height, reach, youth, athleticism, power, speed, and he doesn't typically have all these advantages. When he has advantages like this, he typically wins. So I'm gonna take Chase Sherman. I'm gonna take him by knockout. I just haven't been very impressed with Parker Porter. I mean, he just fought a guy that was just so slow, and Josh Parisian in the last fight made him look good. But in this fight, I just don't think it's going to go so well. Next up, kind of crazy. This is the co-main event over that Pantoja fight, or even the Pinchel fight, or even the Trevin. I mean, I guess not that one because it's short notice. But like, what? I mean, I love Clay Guida, but Marco Madden, Madsen, I'm a huge, you know me. I'm literally a grappler. I love it. It's dope. Mark the Olympian Madsen taking on Clay Guida, the Carpenter. Don't get me wrong, man. I've been watching Clay Guida fight for like 15 freaking years, but dude's an absolute legend. Looks pretty good in that Michael Johnson fight, man. I'm looking forward to see him in the weigh-in because, man, at that weigh-in for the Michael Johnson fight, man, he was shredded. He looked great. And obviously, he was coming in there on a 3-fight losing streak. Well, actually, it was 2. He beat BJ Penn. But, I mean, you look at the losses. Okay, Charles Oliveira. Fucking Jim Miller. He's a little older himself, but he's definitely a super tough guy. And Bobby Green, like, for a guy who's been fighting as long as Clay Guida has, 39, he's fighting tough guys still. So, especially Charles Oliveira, like, what? That was only a couple years ago. And, I mean, like I said, went in there and looked like typical Clay Guida in his last fight. Great cardio. And, I won't say great wrestling, but good wrestling, and he's just a grinder. There's no quit in this guy, man. Like, the problem with Clay Guida is he gets submitted a lot. He's been submitted like 10 times. And, that's not the best when you're fighting a guy like Marco Madsen. But, I mean, not that Mark is like a great submission artist himself, but, if you can just get on top of you, man, I do think that a submission is possible. And the problem in this fight is, man, Clay Guida, he's a grinder. He wants to put you in the cage, grind you, wrestle you. But in this fight, man, good luck. You're going to grind Marco Madsen, an Olympian wrestler? I don't see that happening. But I do think Clay Guida's going to have a striking advantage. He's going to have a cardio advantage. One thing we've seen about Marco Madsen is he does get tired. So maybe we see in that third round. I do think Clay Guida is going to get a little dicey in that third round because I don't think Madsen's going to get the submission. I don't think he'll finish him. I think this fight's going to go to decision. But I'm going to take Marco Madsen by decision because I do think he's going to be able to land takedowns early. Clay Guida, man, yeah, he ain't no Olympian, but his MMA wrestling is pretty solid. It's not going to be easy for Mark to take him down. It might cost a decent amount of energy, and it might tire Madsen out. And that third round might get a little sketchy. But training over at Fight Ready, I mean, both these guys are training at great camps. Both these guys are gonna be ready. I do feel like Madsen should win. You know, but do you want to lay a -165 knowing Clay Guida's a dog and he's probably gonna be coming on strong in that third round? It's gonna get a little sweaty for people like me, but I do think I'm probably gonna parlay Madsen up in a 2-fighter parlay. I do think he's gonna be, he's just gonna have the advantages here. His wrestling is gonna make Clay Guida's style just tough. I mean, Clay Guida wants to grind you on the cage and sap your energy, and man, even though he has a cardio advantage, it's going to be tough to implement that game plan on Marco Madsen. He's probably going to have to just stay on the outside and strike, and that's just not how he likes to fight. So I'm going to take Madsen by decision. Move on to the main event. Make sure you like the video, leave a comment, all that good stuff. Subscribe, post notifications. I appreciate you. If you got this far, you're a legend. Next up, we got Cannonier taking on Kelvin Gastelum. We got both these guys coming off losses to Robert Whittaker. The clear second best middleweight in the world. Still think he poses a legitimate chance to beat Israel Adesanya. I know I'm a little biased. I love Rob Whittaker. Another Twitch homie, even though hasn't been on there lately. Rob's a dope dude, but at the same time, biases aside, losing to him, you can't be too beat up about it. Cannonier had some moments in that fight in the third round. He definitely caught Rob at one point, but Rob's just such a savvy vet that he was able to just, survive, use his grappling advantage a little bit, clinch up with him, get his wits back, and definitely landed a sick high kick on Cannonier. Dominic Reyes. I mean, you look at Cannonier's losses: Whittaker, Reyes, Blachowicz, Teixeira. And then a Sean Jordan at heavyweight, and those, two of those losses were to light heavyweight, one's at heavyweight. His only loss at middleweight being Robert Whittaker. Gastelum might have more losses, but you look at the guys he's fighting. It's Robert Whittaker. Okay, Ian Heinisch. Okay, maybe that's not the elite of the elite, but he won the fight, did what he was supposed to, looked great. Jack Hermanson, great fighter. Got finished. Darren Till. I'll put him on that Ian Heinisch level. I'm sorry. Never been super high on Darren Till. But that was a split decision, and honestly, you could argue Kelvin won that. Israel Adesanya, okay, speaks for itself, and that was an amazing fight. Gave Israel, all he could take. Beat Souza, beat Bisping. Okay, we know that was Bisping's retirement fight, but still. Weidman, that was a tough matchup for him, man. Weidman, as big as a middleweight can be, and Gastelum as small as a middleweight can be, just went in there and used his advantages. We know Chris Weidman when he does what he does. He was a champ for a reason. He's fought the who's who. Vitor Belfort, Tim Kennedy. I mean, yeah, that was older Vitor as well, and that was older Tim Kennedy as well, and that was older Johnny Hendricks. He started out fighting a lot of guys towards the end of their prime, but still top names. Neil Magny, Nate Marquardt, Tyron Woodley. Now, we know that was the end of his welterweight career because he missed weight by a bajillion pounds, but it was 10. But, he's fighting Uriah Hall back and beating him on the Ultimate Fighter finale back when Uriah Hall was supposed to be the guy, and Kelvin Gastelum was the last pick of the show. Kelvin's always been the underdog because, he doesn't look physically that, imposing, but, his boxing's legit. His head movement's legit. One of the best head movement in the division, in my opinion. And I feel like that helps him out a lot, being one of the shorter guys, one of the smaller guys in the division. And this fight, he is going to be at a 6-inch reach advantage, which, like I said, isn't always an advantage. But, it is going to be tough because I don't think Gastelum, he'd be smart to do a little wrestling here, but for 5 rounds, I don't think he's going to want to come in here and wrestle too much. Not that he has a bad gas tank, but 5 rounds, I just feel like he's probably going to come in there and mainly strike. Maybe mix it in a little bit, like he did in the Heinisch fight. And I do think, the thing is, Cannonier, man, 5 rounds for him. At what, 37 years old. Not that that's crazy older. At least the upper weight class. But he cuts a lot of weight. He's 37. Coming off a broken arm. There's a lot of X factors. There's also the fact that he's a knockout artist, man, and Gastelum never been knocked out besides by what? Been what? Wasn't there one? No, never been knocked out. I wanted to say there was one time, but maybe I'm just thinking about the end of the Israel Adesanya fight, which got dicey for sure. But Gastelum durable as hell, man, and I don't know. I just feel like it's tough because Cannonier is like kind of a kill or be killed guy, but like he's gonna go in there and try to knock your head off. But I feel like Gastelum's durability could, tire out Cannonier. Cannonier goes in there and tries to just finish him early, and Gastelum, as we know, so durable, stays in there. You could see, I could see Cannonier slowing down in the later rounds. I think this, especially at dog odds, there is value on Gastelum. As the pick, I'm gonna have to go Cannonier by decision, but man, like, I get it. If you're taking Gastelum, I get it. Because if anybody gets a finish, I think it'll be Gastelum. I don't think Cannonier knocks Gastelum out, man. I know he has so much power, he can knock anybody out, but I really just, Gastelum's just one of those guys, man. Like, after the punishment I saw him take from Israel, man, now he gave out some punishment too. But, like, I just feel like, man, he's just so durable. I don't see him being finished anytime soon. So if somebody could do it, it'd be Cannonier, but I think he weathers the storm. I do think Jared Cannonier, I gotta lean him slightly to win more rounds, to probably take those earlier rounds, at least the first two and then one of the last three, maybe the first three. I'm gonna take Cannonier by decision, but man, it's tough. And I don't know. If you take one of these guys, I think I'm thinking about taking a bet on Cannonier by decision because the odds are pretty good. I'm gonna have to check it again. Fuck it, I'll just check it. I haven't done it the entire card, so why not? I'll do it once on the stream. Cannonier by decision. What is that at? Cannonier wins by decision. 275 on DraftKings. That's pretty solid. 250 William Hill. I mean, 200 maybe you start losing your value, but damn near to 300 because I don't think Gastelum's getting finished, man. I know Cannonier could knock out anybody. He's got crazy power. I mean, you just look at him when he makes middleweight. It's like, okay, yeah, a guy can knock somebody out. But, I'm going to go Cannonier. I'm going to take him by decision. I might take that decision prop, but no bets yet. I will be tweeting out my bets, letting you guys know. If I make enough bets to where it's video worthy, because there's a couple more I'm waiting on. If it's just a couple, I'll tweet them out. But if I end up making these other ones, I'll probably do a short little video on here to make sure y'all who don't have Twitter don't miss out. But Twitter will be in the link. Hit me up. Leave a comment. Like the video. I appreciate you. The weeks off always make it seem like I've been gone forever, but it's good to be back. I will see you guys for the next card. And hopefully come through on Twitch. Watch the fights with me. It'll be fun as always. I think we might do a little poker after with the boys and whoever wants to hop in. Might do a little poker after on fight night. We do that. We've done that before. So I appreciate you guys. Appreciate you watching. It's been real as always, and peace.